Okay, our beloveds, this is take 2. The first one glitched. So, here is where we're at today. Many of you are resisting where the collective is going, and we wish to point out the futility of your resistance. If you were on the Titanic at the time of its sinking, would you have simply sat on the steamliner and gone under, or would you have said, what was strong and stable and taking me across the ocean is going under, so let me get into a rubber life raft in hopes of surviving this calamity. So the practical reality is, for those of you who are sitting here complaining about the death, destruction, and dismantling of the patriarchy while doing nothing to prepare yourself for the upcoming changes, well, don't be surprised if you are left behind. You need to get in tune with this new vibration, because it is going to be the way that the world is run or is operating in the future. Being kind and loving, being generous, sharing your resources, letting others see you as you really are, becoming vulnerable, learning to express yourself, learning that you are the master creator of your experience, learning how alchemy works, learning how white men have controlled this construct and men have controlled women. And white men have subjugated pretty much everything to its management and destruction. You are finding how the patriarchy has brought you to the brink of destruction and dissociation, meaning that you no longer reside within your own bodies, because you are so dissociated because of all the stress within which you find yourselves, and you are just hanging on by a thread. So it is your construct which is changing, because the collective has so chosen and did this millennia ago. It required a growth and evolutionary process of getting through the patriarchal lessons that humanity was here to learn, what it felt like to be subjugated by one group of people to your own detriment. And you all have learned that lesson in spades, and you are ready to move on to a new lesson. And this next one is to find out how you are masterful beings, masterful creators of your future, of your life experience, and how it feels to live with the most basic needs of yours met, meaning housing, heating, clothing, food, transportation, healthcare, education, and what we would call the basic infrastructure of life, which is roads and stop signs and libraries and national parks, and just creating some sense of balance. You will find that as you are left to your own devices, where you get to educate yourself on what is important to you and how you wish to be inspired, you will find a new way of pulling through. And for those who argue that such a method will create people to be lazy, well, look at the wealthy. Are all of the wealthy lazy? No. Some of them are incredibly productive and salable and willing to put in more than a day's work, even though they don't have to. They have sufficient funding. So why is it that the poor are somehow different than the rich? The fact is that the rich as a whole have no financial worries, and it allows them to express themselves in a wholly, and this is wholly as in HOLY, different manner than the poor. This is an experiment that you all have been engaging in for quite a while, and you can't even see how those who are financially secure are able to take greater risks, do things that inspire them, make decisions to find their inner compass, their inner guidance, which in the past may have been to make money, but nonetheless, they figured out what it was that got them out of bed every day. And yes, there are some who just sit there and ride around on their yachts or visit their multiple homes. But there are also many who put in the time and the effort to build a better economy and a better world. Many are incredibly philanthropic and give. And those are the ones that you just don't hear about. They're quiet saviors of this planet who realize the benefit of being wealthy. So now there is Mackenzie Scott. Now she does it more publicly. It is a single person who is intentionally trying to change the future for millions and millions of other people by giving and giving generously with the sole intent of dying to a certain extent with not a penny to her name. Now, how many of you would do that? She is an example of where you all are going, which is to live generously, to see your platform, your ability to change other people's lives. And it's not only wealth. If you have a kind heart, you can sit with a stranger or a homeless person on a bench and give them as much love and consideration as $1 million for another person or an organization. Because at the end of the day, money is not the solution. Love is. Making people feel seen and heard and secure within their own world. So here is our solution for you all, for those who wish to make a difference. Recognize that the patriarchy is dying. The white man's construct, the control over this world, is dying before your very eyes. So you can sit here and resist the energy of where you all are going, or you can join it. It is much like sitting on the Titanic. Denial will do nothing to change the natural outcome of where you find yourselves. You are in a construct that is burning to the ground, and we advise that you all move to elsewhere to begin to build a new construct, because if you somehow expect this old one to miraculously revive, you will lose much time and effort and happiness and contentment at the resistance that you express. When you resist something, go within and ask, why am I resisting this? Why am I so angry that these women are now speaking out and saying that we men aren't doing our fair share, that we men just sit there and do nothing while they do it all? We do our piece, but the problem is that the white man, and in general even the man, you have never had to evolve and adapt like the woman has had to, like the slaves have had to, because you were in control of this world, of this experience. The women were beaten, starved, raped, dismembered, or killed because they did not do what was expected of them. So the women have carried a greater burden, and you do not understand what this is energetically. and it is coming to an end. The women are finally beginning to stand up and say, we are rewriting the contract. And the old contract has been made null and void. So if you wish to have women in your lives in the future, we encourage you to revisit and renegotiate the contract as well. Because if not, you will find yourselves on the outside of the societal walls. So we have spoken about this before, and we will speak about it again. A new energy is coming in, a new way to manage one another. We spoke about the Sapolsky baboon experiment, where the alpha baboons were killed off because they all dined on toxic food at the local dump. And the less aggressive and more passive and more loving, less than desirable male baboons were left to fill in. And this tribe, within a 10-year time frame, changed its inner workings. And other males who came in from other tribes, who were still in that abusive way of being, were given a grace period of finding a new way of fitting in or being removed from that community. Compassion reigns there now because those with the alpha mentality died. And it shows you that the patriarchy, to a certain extent, is programmed or learned behavior. It is not God-given. So we are telling you all that the code, the programming code of the video game you find yourselves in, is being rewritten line by line. And the old ways of controlling those around you will no longer work. So your lever, your dial, your buttons that you use when you play the video game within which you find yourselves will no longer react to abusive behavior like it did before. Shaming people, harming people, gratifying yourself at somebody else's expense. All of that will no longer be tolerated in this new construct called life. If you look at social media and these platforms that you all have created, your bad behavior through video or through words will call you out, and you can no longer deny who you are. It is that simple. That is the beauty of this technology. And while, yes, it can be used for bad intentions as well, and yes, at this time people still do lie and have an expectation of getting away with it because, again, that is the patriarchy. As you move into this new energy, if one person speaks out against your bad behavior without evidence, maybe or maybe not, will you be believed? But if two or more come forth with similar evidence, well, all of a sudden people will begin to question the validity of your own word. How does it look and feel when you are publicly shamed on a worldwide platform? This is how we will change humanity, believe it or not, through exposing what needs to be exposed in order for your behavior to change. If you don't change from within because it is the right thing to do, then public shaming where it is appropriate will do it for you. Because if we cannot change your heart, we can at least change your outer expression of behavior so that the next generation will see better behavior on your part, thereby being programmed into a new belief system. It is similar to the indigenous who are forced to adopt the religious beliefs of the Christians. Now, the first generation did not believe it, but they did it because they needed to do it in order to survive, to live. But the next generation, the next generation, the next generation was more likely to accept it as truth because it is how they were programmed. And we are in no way saying that the Christian religion is the right religion. We are merely pointing out how when you change the behavior of somebody, what the ripple effect is through time. So if we need to have society shame those with bad behavior, to force you to behave, then that is how this video game will play out. And there is now a national platform within which this can and will occur. And if you don't change and you don't change, there will come a point where nobody will wish to engage with you except for those of you who are like-minded. But the rest of the world, who really does want a more loving and kind workplace, living place, friendship place, for those who want to be able to trust those who are within their lives, they now have easy access for information on you. In the workplace, they can see what the public has to say about you. If you're looking at dating somebody, it's pretty easy to find what the general consensus is. And with time, people will offer more vulnerable, heartfelt information. So if you are abusive, expect that that information will get out there. If you're miserly and you are not generous and kind of a reprehensible human being, expect that that will be publicly made available. Your hidden demons and your skeletons and your coping mechanisms and your belief systems and your living example of who you really are, it can now easily be exposed. So we recommend you really do the heart work within. But if nothing else, you will see how society will now demand that you behave better. And this will change the ripple effect in a different way because, most importantly, the code within the programming has been changed. In the past, you could hide your racist behavior in public, but still quietly do it at home. That will no longer work because there are infiltrators who will go into every single organization to find who is worthy and who is not. It is just the nature of human beings for those who wish to expose the corruption within which they find themselves. It will be in the animal farming industry. It will be in the healthcare industry. It will be within the medical pharmaceutical construct. It will be within organizations like Monsanto. It will be within the political area. It will be within nonprofits. All those areas you will now be put under a microscope to a certain extent because your shameful behavior will be put out there for the populace to now judge you on. And if you fall short, don't be surprised if your pocketbook is hit, as well as your opportunities for friendships as well as business opportunities. The political energies, the political desires, the political objectives, they're changing now as those who do not wish to be lifelong politicians or who don't care to be lifelong politicians but will speak their mind and hope that they will be supported, those are the new individuals who are being called forth into politics. And they will no longer play by the rules of either party. They will break ranks and speak out against their own party where they see something that doesn't pass muster. Now, on the one hand, it is painful to watch, but on the other, it will be good because it will create a different consensus at the negotiations table, because people will expect their politicians to be individuals instead of to just participate in groupthink. We know you're thinking, how is this possible within this political divide within which we find ourselves? Now recognize it will start more at the grassroots and local level, and will build out to the federal level, because it will happen closer to home. That is just how the energy of it works. You're seeing some of this at the federal level because whether you like her or not, you look at AOC. She calls a spade a spade. She has a different world experience than you old people because she has had challenges and limitations and has overcome them through her resiliency in wanting to make a difference. And she is doing what many others are and were incapable of doing, and that is creating political change because she truly doesn't give a fuck. So if you want something like this, then join us. And if you don't, then sit on the burning Titanic while it's in the midst of a tornado, a hurricane, a tsunami, an earthquake, and a meteor hitting this planet. It won't serve you well, but you are welcome to choose how you wish to be pulled through the eye of the needle. It is all your collective desires that is bringing you to where you are going. So you will create a beautiful experience with whatever regulations or limitations or opportunities or benefits or generosities that you all wish to offer. It is you individually and collectively that is building this. And for those of you who are being dragged through the eye of the needle, kicking and screaming, just know that your energy is still affecting the collective, but it is more creating a negative experience for you. You are the one who is experiencing your life within the pain and the suffering as you see it. Look at others around you who have had a similar life experience but are more positive and upbeat, and look at how well they're doing. Their health as a whole may be better. Their finances as a whole may be better, and it doesn't mean that they're wealthy, but that they're finding a flow within which they find themselves, that the relationships that they currently have in their lives, that they are meaningful and almost seductive, and how your friendships are restrictive and cranky and bitter. Which do you prefer? If you prefer the bitter experience, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want something different, just learn to be love, learn to be love, learn to be love. We will continue to beat this drum. Another in her head is thinking, why do you keep channeling on this stuff when nobody seems to care? And she doesn't understand that just by us channeling these messages and putting them out in the ether, that it is too an energy and a vibration and a frequency within which you all find yourselves, that just by us saying these words, that it is changing the future for all of you. It is hard to believe, but it is similar to creating a beautiful soup. The more vegetables, the more herbs, and for some of you, the more animal product that you put in, the more flavorful the soup that you ultimately contain within your body. It is hard to understand until you understand, but even for those of you who don't understand, just know that you are doing your part, and we will continue to season the soup base with our energetic vibration and frequency of love, to guide you to where you all are going one way or the other, and to let you know what it will feel like if you resist versus surrendering, as that is ultimately what this is. You are all in the ultimate surrender experiment, much like our another. And when you are in the flow of creativity and moving towards something positive, it feels so much better than your space of resistance. So that is it today. We will stop beating the drum, and we will continue to try to drag the dead horses down to the river to see if just by chance they're only mostly dead and not all dead. And so it is. Namaste.